Step back with us to a time when cruise ships were wild, free, and full of surprises. Today, we're diving into 20 things that cruise lines banned, but that we definitely want back. From outrageous activities to quirky onboard perks. Let's rediscover the fun that the cruise world lost. 1. Midnight buffets. Back in the day, cruising wasn't just about eating, it was about epic dining. Every night after you'd finished your 5-course dinner and maybe sneaking in an extra dessert, the crew would roll out the main event, the midnight buffet. Imagine towering ice sculptures glistening under spotlights and tables bending under the weight of roast meats, seafood towers, and endless desserts. The chocolate fountains were so perfect they seemed lifted from a dream. It wasn't just food, it was theater. Chefs in tall white hats carved up roast beef with precision. Waiters paraded desserts like precious treasures, and passengers shuffled in with eyes wide and plates ready. Nobody was hungry. That wasn't the point. It was about the experience. The joy of walking into a glittering dining room at midnight, surrounded by fellow night owls, knowing you were part of a floating celebration. Midnight buffets were eventually discontinued to cut costs, reduce waste, and encourage healthier eating habits. Fair enough, but let's be honest. Nothing quite says I'm on vacation like a shrimp cocktail at 12:30 a.m., eating it in formal wear. Bring it back, cruise lines. We promise to at least pretend we'll go to the gym tomorrow. 2. Visiting the bridge. Once upon a time, the bridge of a cruise ship wasn't a secretive off-limits command center. It was a tourist attraction. You could walk up, shake hands with the captain, and see the officers going about their business as they steered the ship. Some cruises even offered guided tours where you could peer through the binoculars, turn the wheel under strict supervision, and learn how the instruments and maps helped the vessel to stay on navigation. That was a special feeling. You weren't just a mere passenger, you were a participant, getting a glimpse beyond the scenes. You could ask the captain about storms ahead, marvel at the radar screens, and maybe even take a pretend command photo. Sadly, 9/11 and other security concerns slammed the door shut on public bridge access. Today, that part of the ship is strictly crew only, with the occasional expensive behind-the-scenes tour offered on some lines. Understandable, though, but quite a shame. The bridge is where the magic of navigation happens. It's the brain of the ship. We get the safety concerns, but imagine being able to wander up there again, coffee in hand, and watch the sunrise with the captain. That's the kind of connection to the sea we're missing. 3. Formal gala nights. Yes, formal nights on cruises still exist, but let's be real, they're nothing quite like they used to be. Back then, gala nights were a big deal. The dress code wasn't wear a collared shirt and you're fine. It was tuxedos, ball gowns, silk gloves, and jewelry that mirrored the chandeliers above the grand staircase. Dinner was a complete production. Waiters moved across the floor with champagne flutes. A live band played softly in the background, and everyone looked like they'd stepped out of a classic Hollywood movie. After the meal, you didn't just wander off to the buffet. You danced, you mingled, you had your portraits taken on broad stairways while the ship gently rocked beneath you. Part of the magic was the sense of the occasion. You weren't just eating, you were a breathing part of a panorama of sea life. Such evenings made people feel glamorous, elegant, even a little larger than life. Today, many passengers opt for smart casual, and while that's definitely more comfortable, it's lost the sparkle. Bring back the gowns, the tuxes, the chance to pretend just for one night that you're in a scene from Titanic, minus the iceberg, of course. 4. Shuffleboard tournaments. Shuffleboard wasn't just a casual deck game, it was a cruise ship institution. The clatter of the discs on court, those long wooden sticks, and the low hum of friendly competition made it a staple of life at sea. Passengers would form teams, cheer each other on, and spend hours in the perfecting of their aim. It was slow, yes, but that was part of the charm. The tournaments were the best part. There were no cash prizes, winners got bragging rights, and maybe a tacky trophy you'd cherish forever. You'd make friends, exchange stories, and soak up the sea breeze between turns. These days, shuffleboard courts still exist on some ships, but they're often tucked away, forgotten in favor of high-tech perks like rock climbing walls and laser tag. There's nothing wrong with progress, but shuffleboard was never about adrenaline. It was about connection, unwinding, and the joy of doing something that forces you to slow down. It's a piece of old-school cruising that deserves a comeback. Imagine it, a fresh coat of paint on the court, a chilled drink in hand, and a slow, sunny afternoon spent shuffling discs and making new friends. That's cruise life at its finest. 5. Golf driving ranges. Once upon a time, some cruise ships had miniature driving ranges on deck, complete with real golf balls and an infinite ocean as your backdrop. You tee up, swing, and watch your ball drop to the horizon. It wasn't about keeping score, it was about the satisfaction of launching a perfect drive deep into the blue. The setup was surprisingly simple: a netted space, or indeed just an open corner of the deck with a ball pile. Sometimes they used biodegradable golf balls made from fish food, so the local sea life got a snack out of your less than perfect swings. It was soothing, strangely mesmerizing, and made for a perfect sea day activity. The space was eventually turned over for trendier attractions, and safety regs made the open air ranges a thing of the past. Today, you might find an indoor golf simulator, but it's not the same as feeling the wind in your hair and the deck swaying beneath your feet while you take a shot. Bring back the driving range, even if just for nostalgia's sake, because really, what could be more satisfying than saying, I drove a golf ball into the Caribbean? 6. Cabin gift deliveries. Once stepping into your cabin after a day in port might mean finding fresh fruit basket, a tray of petite fours, or even a handwritten note from the captain waiting for you. You didn't have to pay extra cost to get those extras, and thus it became part of the experience. It made you feel valued, like more than just a booking number. Whether it was a birthday, an anniversary, or just welcome aboard, the little touches turned an ordinary trip into something truly personal. Nowadays, those perks have mostly vanished unless you're in a suite or part of a loyalty program. For most passengers, the only surprise in the cabin is the folded towel animal. And while we love a good towel swan, it's not quite the same as chocolate-covered strawberries with a card. Those little gestures cost cruise lines very little, but left us passengers with big memories. Bring back the unexpected treats, the warm welcome notes, and the small but powerful acts of hospitality. These personal touches turn a good cruise into an excellent one. 7. Open-air movie nights. There is something magical about watching a film under the stars at sea. The salty breeze, the sound of waves, and a deck chair beneath you. Back in the day, cruise ships would set up giant screens or just even white sheets on deck. They handed out blankets and passed around popcorn as everyone gathered for the show. It wasn't just about the movie, it was about the atmosphere. You could glance up and see 1,000 stars overhead while a classic played in the background. Families snuggled under blankets, couples held hands, and friends laughed together, all against the backdrop of the open ocean. Today, while some ships still have poolside movies under the stars, they've lost the charm. The sound systems are too loud, the lights never dim quite enough, and the film choices often feel like corporate branding rather than genuine entertainment. We miss the simplicity. No high-tech, no flashing ads, just a great movie, a gentle breeze, and the sound of the sea. That's cinemagic that you can't replicate in a multiplex. 8. Deck quoits. Never heard of deck quoits? Think of it as a cross between horseshoes and ring toss. Only you're on a moving ship, so it's a bit trickier than it sounds. It was a traditional cruise pastime, especially on longer voyages, and came with its own set of quirky rules and customs. The game itself was simple. Toss rope rings onto fixed pegs, rack up points, and try not to let the ship's roll ruin your aim. But the real fun came from the banter, teasing your opponent when they missed, celebrating the rare perfect shot, and laughing when a rogue wave hit every ring and made him swing back and forth. These days, deck quoits are almost extinct, replaced by ping-pong tables and high-tech arcade games. And while those are fun, they don't have the same timeless charm. Deck quoits were the kind of game anyone could play. No athletic skill needed, just a willingness to enjoy yourself and maybe make a fool of your aim. Bring it back, and you might just discover that low-tech fun still has a place in the high-tech cruise world. 9. Cruise passenger talent shows. One of the most memorable traditions of classic cruising was the Cruise Passenger Talent Show, a lively blend of fun, creativity, and connection. Unlike modern performances dominated by professional entertainers, these shows invited passengers to take the stage alongside crew members. Guests could sing, dance, perform magic tricks, or try comedy, all often paired with staff who added flair, skill, or humor. The results were always entertaining, sometimes polished, sometimes hilariously imperfect, but always full of heart. The real charm was in the shared experience. Audiences laughed, clapped, and cheered for both amateur and experienced performers. While crew members got a chance to show a side of themselves beyond their usual roles, it created a unique sense of camaraderie that extended beyond the stage, turning strangers into friends and connecting passengers with the ship's staff in ways few other activities could. From solos to skits, musical duets to group acts, the talent show became a highlight of the voyage, a space for creativity, playfulness, and joy. Bringing back crew passenger talent shows would revive a sense of community and laughter that modern cruising rarely offers. 10. Live big band music. Once upon a time, cruise ship lounges weren't dominated by canned playlists or generic cover bands. They had real big bands, complete with brass sections, velvet gowns, and tuxedoed musicians playing everything from swing classics to jazzy ballads. The music wasn't just background noise, it was an experience. The sound was rich, warm, and alive in a way no backing track could ever capture. Couples would take the dance floor, gliding across the room under softer lights. Even if you didn't dance, you could sip a cocktail and soak in the atmosphere. You'd feel transported to an era when live music was king. These days, live entertainment hasn't vanished, but the grandeur of a full big band has. Smaller duos or digital DJs have taken their place mostly for cost reasons, and while modern music has its place, there's something irreplaceable about a full band playing just a couple feet away from you. Imagine bringing it back for a themed evening. You got tuxes, gowns, trumpets, ringing through the night as passengers young and old rediscover the joy of live swing. It would be more than nostalgia. It would be a reminder that sometimes music is meant to be felt, not just heard. 11. Formal captain's galas. There was a time when meeting the captain wasn't just a handshake and a selfie, it was an event. Captain's Gala was a formal evening complete with champagne, a chance to mingle with the ship's officers and their cruise whites, where guests would dress to the nines. Gowns, tuxedos, polished shoes, photographers roamed the room, capturing portraits you'd proudly frame at home. The captain would give a short, charming speech, and everyone felt like they were part of something elegant and grand. Over the years, these galas have been scaled down or replaced with casual meet and greets. Dress codes have relaxed and the pomp has faded. While that's great for comfort, it's a shame to lose the sense of glamour that made cruises feel different from any other vacation. Reintroducing a once-per-cruise gala would give passengers that old Hollywood at sea experience. After all, part of cruising's charm is feeling a little more glamorous than you do on land. 12. Bridge tours. Once, curious passengers could sign up for a guided tour of the ship's bridge, the nerve center where officers navigated the vessel. You'd step into a hushed, high-tech room, meet the officers, and get a front-row view of the horizon through floor-to-ceiling windows. The crew would explain navigation systems, radar screens, and the art of maneuvering a massive ship. Sometimes, if you were lucky, you could even try steering just for a second. It was fascinating, personal, and made you appreciate the skill behind every smooth day at sea. After heightened security regulations, most bridge tours vanished. A few lines still offer them, but usually only to loyalty program elites for a steep fee. Bringing back bridge tours, even in a limited and secure way, would connect passengers to the ship in a unique way. Seeing the ocean from the captain's perspective, that's an experience you'll never forget. 13. Ice carving demonstrations. Cruise ships used to wow passengers with live ice carving shows. You'd gather around as a chef, armed with chisels and chainsaws, transformed a massive block of ice into a swan, a dolphin, even a full-size pirate ship right before your eyes. It was a combination of art and performance. The crowd would cheer with each reveal, and the sculptures would be displayed for hours before inevitably melting away. The fact that it was short-lived only made it more magical. Nowadays, you might see ice carvings at special buffets, but live demos are rare, and they've been edged out by flashier entertainment options, and there's a certain satisfaction of witnessing a work of art formed out of a simple block of ice. Reintroducing this old tradition would be a low-cost, high-impact way to delight passengers. It's proof that sometimes the simplest shows are the most memorable. 14. Skeet shooting off the deck. Once upon a time, you could stand at the back of a cruise ship, shotgun in hand, and fire clay targets into the endless ocean. Even if it sounds crazy today, that's exactly what made it such a thrilling and memorable experience. Back in the 70s and 80s, skeet shooting was seen as a glamorous sport, and cruise lines loved offering it as an exclusive entertainment for their adventurous passengers. Out on the deck, with nothing but the ocean around you, you'd take aim at a bright orange clay pigeon flying just against the blue horizon. Now, let's be honest, safety standards were somewhat relaxed. You had a group of strangers taking turns with loaded guns, a moving platform, and crazy wind speeds. Back then, it wasn't just about hitting targets. It was about the thrill, the camaraderie, and the sheer novelty of doing something so bold in the middle of the ocean. Of course, environmental concerns and common sense eventually put an end to that. Still, when you think about the pure, unfiltered fun of those days, it's hard not to wish you could step back in time, shotgun shells in your pocket, and shout pull just one more time. 15. Midday deck games and competitions. Back in the day, cruise ships often hosted playful, impromptu competitions right on deck. Tug-of-war, relay races, limbo contests, or water balloon tosses. Passengers of all ages could join in, often competing against crew members, a spontaneous way to laugh, bond, and feel the sea breeze while being active. These events encouraged friendly rivalry, created memorable photos, and brought the whole ship together in a carefree, lighthearted atmosphere. Unlike organized entertainment, this was participatory fun for everyone, regardless of skill, who could join in on the fun. 16. Afternoon tea service. Picture this: tiered trays of scones, delicate sandwiches, and pastries served on fine china with a steaming pot of Earl Grey. Afternoon tea at sea wasn't just about eating, it was a ritual of refinement, a moment of quiet elegance amid the bustle of cruise life, where conversations lingered and live piano music set the mood. Some luxury lines still offer it, but on many mainstream ships, tea time's been reduced to a self-serve station with a few tea bags and paper cups. Sure, it's convenient, but it's definitely lost the ceremony that once made it so special. Even if we brought it back once a week, it would still give contemporary sailings a sense of refinement and heritage. 17. Library lounges. Before Wi-Fi took over, cruise ships featured cozy libraries stocked with books, puzzles, and board games. There were silent spaces where you could curl up with a novel and gaze at the waves rolling by. The decor was often rich wood and plush armchairs, making it feel like an old-world reading room. Passengers would borrow books, strike up conversations about authors, or play chess for hours. In the present, libraries have been reduced or replaced entirely by internet cafes and retail spaces. And while digital entertainment is convenient, there's something about a physical book in a quiet corner at sea that can't be replaced. Rebuilding library lounges would give passengers a tech-free retreat, something nearly extinct on land as well as at sea. 18. Daily printed newsletters. Not too long ago, Mornings at Sea began with a little ritual. A printed daily newsletter slipped under your cabin door, listed activity schedules, port details, trivia, and even world news headlines. You'd sip your coffee while circling events, mapping out your own schedule for the day. Now, most ships have switched to digital apps or TV channels. While efficient, they lack the simple charm of flipping through a paper guide. Plus, not everyone wants to scroll on their phone during vacation. A printed newsletter might seem small, but it's a keepsake, the kind of memento you could save to remember your voyage. Reviving them might achieve a balance between contemporary convenience and a dash of nostalgia. 19. Themed costume nights. Cruise lines hosted theme nights full-on style. You got pirate parties in 1920 soirees, tropical luau's, guests dressed up, and the whole ship joined in. Everyone had a reason to act a little silly, and it was as entertaining as it was immersive. Today, while some ships still hold a few theme nights, they're often toned down. Participation is optional, and the decor often lacks the energy of old days because theme nights, those build community. Strangers bonded over shared costumes, dance floors stayed packed, and photos were priceless. Bringing them back in full spirit would bring back the spark and add personality to modern cruises. 20. Gala farewell nights. On the last night of a voyage, cruise lines once held a grand farewell gala. Everyone had time to celebrate the trip one last time. The dining room prepped a special meal, and cruise members lined up to wave goodbye. It was a bittersweet moment to thank the crew, exchange contact details with your new friends, and soak in the final bit of sea magic. Some ships held parades of chefs or waiters accompanied by music or dancing. Regular dinner service and silent departures have largely replaced these farewells, but bringing them back would give cruise lines the kind of ending they deserve, a joyful, heartfelt send-off that leaves passengers smiling on the way home. And that's our list. 20 cruise ship traditions we love to see make a comeback. Some were quirky, some were downright outrageous, but all of them made cruising feel magical. Did we miss any of your favorites? Let us know in the comments. We read all of them.